Hey guys, Mark the Mentor here, back with another video. In this video, I want to break down the 150 air mile radius rule in trucking. Semi truck, box truck, it don't matter. This is something that a lot of people are confused on. All right. I've seen people try to explain it, and I can understand why people get confused. So I'm gonna break it down in less than 7 or 8 minutes. I'm gonna draw a diagram to give you a visual of what it actually entails. Then we're going to go over some of the most frequently asked questions and myths centering around this 150 air mile radius rule, and we're going to try to keep it short because I know people got a short attention span. So let's get to it. All right guys, let's get to it here. I got my whiteboard pulled up. Let's see here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a circle. Now I'm going to try to make this circle as perfectly symmetrical as possible. All right, boom. We got our circle. All right. Now I am going to put a dot in the center of this circle. This dot is going to represent you. It's going to represent your truck, and it's going to represent your starting location, where the terminal that you're based out of for the day, where you're picking up at. All right, so I'm going to center it here. All right, boom. Let's switch colors. All right, so boom. I'm going to draw a line from here to here. I'm going to draw a line from here to here. I'm going to draw a line from here to here. I'm going to draw a line from here to here. Now, everything within this circle is 150 air miles. So it's 150 air miles in this direction, that direction, that direction, that direction, and anywhere in between these lines. Within this circle, this is 150 air miles. All right, not ground miles, air miles. That's a difference. All right, so let's say if you got 2 stops. All right, you got a stop that's here, about 149. We're going to round it to 150, and then your next stop is here, right? So if you leave from here to here, that's 150 miles, right? And if your next stop is way up here, from here to here is 150. So 150 here and 150 there is 300 miles. So for the day so far, before you return to the terminal, you're at 450 miles, and then back to the terminal is going to be another 150 miles. So that's going to put you at 600 miles for the day, which is fine, right? You operating within 150 air miles. So as long as you stay within this 150 air mile radius, you can run exempt, which means you do not have to run a log. It's simple as that. All right. As long as you stay within the 150 air mile radius, you don't have to run a log. If you get pulled over by a DOT, state trooper, it's your responsibility to explain to them you're running exempt under the 150 air mile radius. All right. You can't say something basic like, I don't have it, or, something simple like that. You have to explain that you're running within the 150 air mile radius. If you're not specific and you don't give a specific explanation that you're running within the 150 air mile radius, then they can write you a violation. So you must be very transparent and vocal and provide that explanation like that. I'm running within the 150 air mile radius rule. It's simple as that. All right, let's cover some of the most frequently asked questions and myths centered around this 150 air mile radius rule. The first thing is the 30-minute break. When a property carrying driver is operating under the 150 air mile exemption, the driver is also exempt from having to take the required 30-minute break. If the driver began the day as a 150 air mile driver and has driven more than 8 consecutive hours without a break, and something unexpected happens and the driver can no longer use the 150 air mile exemption, the driver must then stop and immediately take the 30-minute break, right? And start logging. If the driver went outside of the 150 air mile area before the driver had 8 hours of driving without a break from driving, then the driver would be expected to take that break at that appropriate time. The next thing, frequently asked question or myth, the driver must have the time records in the vehicle. That's a myth. The driver simply needs to explain to the officer during a roadside inspection that he or she does not have the logs due to operating under the 150 air mile exemption, and that the required records are back at the carrier's office. You can't just say, I don't have logs. All right. If you say something silly like, I don't have logs, and you're not specific and you translate the way I'm telling you, I'm running under 150 air mile radius, they're going to write you a violation. So you have to be specific and let the officer know that you're running and operating within the 150 air mile exemption. All right. The most frequently asked question, centered around the 150 air mile radius is, if you cross state lines, can you still use the 150 air mile radius exception? The answer is yes. Since the FMCSA regulations apply to interstate commerce, crossing a state line does not affect the use of the exemption. But keep in mind, though, if you are operating in interstate commerce and you're following the state-specific hours of service regulations, crossing the state line puts you under federal regulations. So if you don't have an MC number because you're operating interstate, you have to have an MC number to, cross state lines. So keep that in mind. So that is a myth. You can cross state lines under the 150 air mile radius exception as long as you have a motor carrier authority. And there you have it, guys. That is the 150 air mile radius explained. I showed you a diagram of what it actually entails, and I answered some of the most frequently asked questions.